The 2025 season is done. The Indiana Hoosiers are your national champions, and the Georgia Bulldogs were on the outside looking in, watching Carson Beck, of all people, try for a national title. But alas, that is done. Dogs Off the Leash is back. I'm Keegan, my co-host is Chito, and we have a lot to look forward to in the year of 2026. It's going to be a great season, and we are ready to count down to spring football. Let's get it. Chito, how about that? The season just wraps up. You get a little bit of a breather, a little bit of time for reflection, and then before you know it, you are 2 months out from spring football, thereabouts. 2.5 months, I guess. But yeah, not another season around the corner, man. So how you feeling so far, and just how's your little respite from all things football been?
So we are, as of today, 10 days removed from the national championship. Indiana, of all teams, was crowned the champion over Miami, and what turned out to be a good game. And like you mentioned, Carson Beck ending his college career with an interception. I know a lot of Georgia fans were on the fence or on either side, pro Carson, anti Carson, with the whole narrative, but I think what I take away from it most is how much college football has changed since the establishment of NIL, transfer portals, and all of this stuff. Both Miami and Indiana were afterthoughts in college football, and they have both resurrected their programs from where they were. It kind of sucks to see as an SEC fan, especially a Georgia fan, when this happens, when you are at the top, when you are at the pinnacle of the sport. But college football and Georgia and those who are making decisions for the UJ football team have to realize this is a different ball game, and we got to start playing by these same rules. So, Keegan, watching this game, watch where college football is, do you feel like Georgia is keeping up with the times as is?
I think in a sense they are. Like, could they be more revolutionary and go out and just get this highbrow, big name QB guy, or some kind of big splash in the portal? Well, sure. And I think they've tried a little bit, but outside of, just spending $10 million, what is Georgia really not doing? Like, I feel like the difference between Georgia and some of these big schools that are, quote, on NIL schools is just like they have a billionaire writing big checks. So to my answer to that, I think we're doing a lot of what we need to do. Do you think that, do you prefer the long-term approach of how Georgia is trying to kind of keep a consistent level, or would you rather just us be like all in, all or nothing, $40 million team, hope it works out kind of approach? Like, what's your, the microwave or the long, the the brisket, the 12-hour brisket? Like, what's more your fancy, Cheetah?
When this all started, I felt like Kirby's approach was effective and it was working. And Georgia has been in the conversation, but the society that we're in, the atmosphere that we're in, what's the word I'm looking for? The climate that we're in is, what have you done for me lately? I have no doubt that Kirby Smart is still one of the best coaches in college football, regardless of Cignetti and Indiana. Congratulations to them. But I'm starting to have some doubts and some worries about if Kirby is the best decision maker in college football. And I think his approach just needs to be tailored. I don't think there needs to be a drastic change. But when you see a team like Texas, who we've beaten 3 times in a row, pick up Cam Coleman at wide receiver, get Will Muschamp, 2 things that I thought would be great for this program. Now, to Kirby's credit, we have officially a new offensive line coach in Paul Rosher, who replaces Stacy Sorrells, who I think was a really integral part in helping this offensive line be as good as it was next year. And I think that is going to be one of the strengths of our team next year. So really happy with the change there. You're always going to have that crowd that wonders about Bobo. Yes, Bobo is a Broyles Award finalist. I doubt he's going to win it. And there's some concerns with this wide receiver room. I think we're take a step back at wide receiver. Is Bobo going to call the right plays to get our offense going? Because if you look around this UGA team, I think we have a lot of good pieces. But if we can't have a vertical passing game, I wonder, and this comes down to the coach making decisions about different things. So people are going to start whispering. The rumor mill is going to start going, whether we like it or not. We have to address that as fans. So I want to get your take on it. Do you feel like Kirby's doing it the right way, and you think this patience and not attacking the portal as aggressively as some is going to end us with a national title, or are you okay where Georgia is right now for the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I like how Kirby's doing it because I think we're being aggressive enough in the portal in areas of need and still developing talent the right way from the high school ranks, because it seems to me that you're not able to go out and get the best of the best in the trenches from the portal. So if you put your meat and cheese, so to speak, into investing in guys who are going to be in the trenches from the high school ranks, and then add the skilled position players, the smaller guys overall from the portal, I think that is the recipe for success. So, like, if you look at the year-to-year acquisition, if you will, of what we've done well enough to have some of the top recruiting classes from the high school ranks consistently the last, basically since Kirby's gotten here. We're coming off the back-to-back SEC title runs where I think really we're probably an elite QB play away from taking it to the next level. And we've had we could get into the minutia of making the defense just a little bit better or the offensive line a little bit better. But outside of the minutia, we've kept a super high level. We're back-to-back SEC champions. We have the most talented crop of guys from a core recruiting perspective that we've had since the national title years, the back-to-back years. So this season sets up really well. And Chito, I think it's kind of funny because if you look at the SEC transfer rankings, Georgia's not necessarily that high, dude. I think we're near dead last. But if you look at who we added, every single person that Georgia added from the transfer ranks, I think, is a difference maker. But with that, why isn't Georgia higher if that's the case? If we added all these difference makers, I kind of think, I don't think I'm gaslighting myself, then why aren't we higher? I think these rankings are based on pure volume. What I don't know if they're taking enough into effect is the amount of attrition within the transfers. So teams will be ranked based on who they're getting, but not ranked based on who they're losing. So if this roster is as talented as we both probably think it is, then retaining the talent is super important, and we've done an excellent job of that. So while we may not have done the best job of getting pure talent in, I think with how we retain talent and how we've added guys I think can make an impact, I think Kirby's doing excellent. So that's kind of my take on it, but what do you think?
So a buddy of mine called me today. He's both a Falcons fan and a Georgia fan. So he's been talking about all the moves that the Falcons have been making, Stefanski, O-line coach, GM on the way, all these things. And as I always tell him, I was like, you better go win the NFC South. For Georgia, it's not as easy as saying it, but I feel like we lack in a few key areas at the University of Georgia. And I want to say first that I think Gunnar Stockton is a great quarterback. I think he's going to have an even better year next year, especially if he can work on his downfield passing, or God forbid his offensive coordinator allows him to take shots, or he sees it better, or whatever the case may be. I also want to say that I think this wide receiver room is going to take a step back next year. And I think you'd be foolish to think otherwise when you lose a Noah Thomas, a Colby Young, a Dylan Bell, and Zachariah Branch. Zachariah Branch, who had a career year at the University of Georgia in his first year here, right? Sokovie White is going to be good. I don't think he's going to be as good as Zachariah Branch was last year. I'm actually very, very excited for both Talon Taylor and CJ Wiley, but they're both in their second year. I don't think that they're going to pop off the page until year 3, in my honest opinion. And then you bring in Isaiah Canton. I would much rather have paid Cam Coleman. And I think that's kind of where I'm sitting with what I hope or wish or think Georgia's strategy needs to be moving forward. I think we need to start dropping the bag for quarterbacks, wide receivers, and edge rushers. You pay Jared Curtis whatever he wants. Come play for us. You pay Cam Coleman whatever he wants. Come play for us. Instead of bringing in Elo Mendoza from Army, who I said would at best be a contributor. You don't come in to Army playing wide receiver and then come to the SEC as the edge rusher. That was a complete miss, a whiff, absolutely. Pay edge rushers. We have a defensive line end who came in from Auburn. I think that is a great pickup. I think the entire defense is going to be elite next year. But at the sexy positions, I think Kirby's just going to have to bite the bullet. We're going to have to start paying people. Imagine if we had Carson Beck on this year's team, if we had Damon Wilson on this year's team, right? Those are the positions that we lack year in and year out. And defensively, I'm not worried, but offensively, man, we don't have the play caller to work with a downgraded wide receiver room. The offensive line is going to be good. The running back room is going to be good. The tight ends are going to be phenomenal. Maybe the best Georgia has had in the last 5 years, and that is saying a lot. But the wide receiver room leaves a lot to be desired. There is a lot of potential with Landon Rowland and stuff like that, but I'm not super confident in what our offense is going to look like next year if we're talking about the wide receiver room.
Yeah, see, to me, I think the wide receiver room definitely gets worse in some ways, but in some ways I think it gets better too. So, like, Dylan Bell and Colby Young are some of the most physical, basically running backs, playing wide receiver guys to also complement Zachariah Branch, who is basically essentially that too, as far as just being a pure runner. That style of play just isn't going to exist in the wide receiver room, and the level of blocking and just the senior leadership and the know-how. Like, there's a lot we lose, and I think I laid it out. But I do think we gain, and it's in a potential sense, but, you know, the good things in reality start in potential. So I think C.J. Wiley, Talon Taylor, I think these guys, Talon Taylor and C.J. Wiley, have higher upside when it comes to their route running ability. So I think those areas of speed and route running can be improved, because I think that I like what you probably like in Cam Coleman, but every time Georgia plays them, and maybe it's just because we're whooping them, there's a lot of Cam Coleman on the sideline with terrible body language, lots of just selfish me kind of vibes I'm getting from him. And on the contrary, Isaiah Canyon from Georgia Tech seems like a dog. He's a possession guy. He's also got the wiggle. He's got the hurdles. He's not as flashy of a catcher as Cam Coleman. Cam Coleman's a little bit closer to like a George Pickens type. But I think Isaiah Canyon is a good locker room ad and will give us some veteran production. And if we can just bring in more of the tight end play, I think that can make up from what we lose with a little less Zachariah Branch, because our tight end room is going to be as loaded as it ever was. And I think that Oscar Delp is a great, well-rounded tight end, and that he blocks well. He's also got the yards after catch ability. He's almost like Brock Bowers meets Lynch, right? You know, he's like kind of blue collar, kind of flashy, but he's definitely an in-betweener in that sense. But this tight end room's got the flashy guys like Elias Williams. Jaden Riddell can be a bully up front. You're bringing in Caden Prothrow, who I think could be an impact guy. So, Chito, are there any freshmen that you're looking at coming in that you think could make a splash? And just any players next year that you think can actually take this team to the next level in a certain area or two?
To be honest, man, I'm excited about a lot of these players. Caden Prothrow being one of them. Again, I've talked about Dandridge. Wide receiver Dandridge is going to be really good. But, dude, I got to be honest with you. I don't know if it matters. If your offensive coordinator won't throw them the ball downfield, I don't even know why some of these players even want to come to Georgia. Because if I'm a defense playing Georgia, the same recipe that happened to us this year, I'm going to play a lot of cover 2, a lot of zone, and make Gunnar Stockton beat me down the field. He hasn't shown a lot of success making tight window throws, especially if he can't be protected, which should be better next year. But your offensive coordinator is not calling a lot of down the field stuff. I'm going to sit on this dink and dime stuff. I'm going to sit on screens, and I'm going to force him to throw the ball. So I'm excited about a lot of these players. But if you don't use the players that you have to their full potential, it doesn't matter. And that's kind of where I am, because we have recruits. We have talent. And we've been knocked out of the first round of the playoffs 2 years in a row. We won the SEC and then got beat by an SEC team just a couple weeks ago. And it's infuriating because I don't feel like we're reaching our full potential. So to me, it's not about the talent. It's not about the talent. It's about the decisions that are being made with the talent in hand. And this is something I'm going to talk about all off season, especially leading up to next season, because there's going to be a lot of optimism the way there normally is with Georgia. We're going to be a top 5 team because this entire team is really, really good. But when push comes to shove, the one thing all these teams know about us is that we're not a vertical threat, and that just makes the game easier for our opponents. And I'm going to stand on that.
Well, I think that's fair, and I think that we need to be more aggressive down the field. But, I think all in all, Gunnar Stockton, through the film, has had plenty of opportunities he has not bitten on himself. And like I said on the last podcast, there's probably 20 plays where Gunnar himself would be like, hey, guys, I wish I could have that one back because fill-in-the-blank receiver was wide open downfield and I didn't pull the trigger. Well, if that's the case, if Gunnar can get half of those back as far as an improvement metric, let's say that number was 20. Let's say he can get 10 of those 20 back this season where he does pull the trigger. That's a big mover for what our offense could be in 2026. So for all the reasons I listed, I think, yes, the wide receiver room does get worse in a way, but I think from a separation sense, I think we have guys with a little bit more speed, a little bit more wiggle to get the separation we need. So if Gunnar can develop with his timing, what was Fernando Mendoza so good at to me was he just had so many passes that the defense couldn't do anything about because it was just so much based on timing, maybe wide receiver physicality some because he had some dudes who could stretch and make catches, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't like Carson Beck throwing to Malachi Toney, who could who could bail Carson out every other play, right? Indiana's got some guys, but Mendoza just had timing down like a motherfucker. If Gunnar can do that, get his timing a little bit better, that is going to make a huge improvement for this team. And the other thing I think, you mentioned the new offensive line coach earlier. If we can get better in the offensive line, dude, this team is going to be super dangerous if we can get better there. I've gone back and watched enough highlights now that there's just so many plays where guys are just sitting there not hitting anybody, watching defenders just run past them, make plays. We got to be a little bit more aggressive on the offensive line.
And the player that was most guilty of doing that is gone to the NFL draft now. So you bring back Ernest Green. You've got Dontrell Glover. You got Bobo coming back in the center. And then you've got Gaston. Yeah, Gaston, on the other side. So really, you're just looking for a left guard. We have enough depth and talent for that to slide in. So, again, I think that's going to be one of the strengths of our team. I'm not really worried about that at all.
Yeah, so, I mean, if we can, okay, I think if you're playing backyard football or high-level football, if you got 2 guys who can be your workhorses, let alone 3 you're really cooking, but 2 is kind of like a magic number to really have a electric offense. You got to have at least 2. And I think Sakovi White can step up. London Humphreys can step up. If one of the 5-star freshmen can play a role, and then the next guy can just be Lawson Lucky. I mean, that can be all you need to have a great season.
I don't know if that's enough to scare an elite defense. If they turn into that, I'll stand corrected. But to think Sakovi's going to do 80% of what Zachariah Branch did, that's a stretch. Humphreys is really good. He can take the top off of a lot of defenses. I have no doubt about his ability to do so. Will they let him do so? Again, it's going to come back to the same thing. The talent is not so much the question. It's going to be less so than last year. But what does it matter if he's out here running curls and slants and outs and digs? It's not going to matter. It's not going to matter.
Yeah, I think we have to be a little bit more – we have to open up the offense for sure. But I think that Zakovi White just hasn't gotten his shine, and he's someone that the players are hyping up. But,
how big is Zakovi?
He's about 5'9". He's an undersized guy.
5'9", how much does he weigh?
Dude, if he was 6'3", he would have been a 5-star.
I mean, yeah. If I was 6'3", I'd be a 5-star too. Like that's not how the game. Okay. That's not how the game works. That's not how the game works.
Okay, but I'm telling you, dude, Zacoby White is like on an all-county last 25-year team, and that's something because this is like a pretty legit ass county. Like he would start on that team as a slot receiver. Like motherfucker is beastly. He's taken over games that in a way where I really like Lad McConkey did, but he's elite. Like if we use him correctly, I think he could be 70-80% of Z Branch. Chito, so looking at 2026, who are 3 main leaders? Because I think so many times it really does come down to who are your leaders for your team. That's going to really define how your season goes, the culture of your locker room. We've seen teams fall short because they did not have that leadership. So who are the leaders you're looking to for the 2026 iteration of the Georgia Bulldogs? I'm
going to go with 4. I could probably go with a couple more, but these guys have been vocal, and I think Kirby's going to thrust them into this position if they're not there already. Gunnar Stockton. He's more of a leader by action than word, but he's going to be thrust into that role. And along with Nate Frazier. Nate Frazier, he'll talk to you. Now, he's going to talk to the offense, right? He's a high-energy guy. He really started being more vocal as a leader last year, especially dealing with his injury. And then Chauncey Bowens kind of takes the reins for a little bit. He supports him and then comes back and then just balls out. So those are going to be my 2 offensive leaders. Throw in London Humphreys there too. But on the defense, Jordan Hall. Jordan Hall is going to be like the super senior on this defense at a position at defensive line that we are going to need to kind of turn the clock back and go 2021, 2022. We're going to have a lot of depth and a lot of talent on the D-line, and I expect Jordan Hall to be the leader there. And then instead of going with the linebacker, I'm going to go with KJ Bolden because he has been thrust into a starting position since he walked on campus. Nothing turns you into a leader than being thrown into the fire as a young guy and taking your lumps and excelling in that role. And I think KJ Bolden has done that. He's going to have a great year and then probably be off to the NFL, leading what I think is going to be a really, really talented secondary. I'm actually not worried about this defense at all next year on all 3 levels. I think we are going to be absolutely elite. So that's who I've got leading the pack next year.
Yeah, I like what you're saying about KJ Bolden. To me, he's someone that just came in with a ton of pressure, a ton of spotlight, and has just handled it gracefully and really met the moment every single time. So there's a lot to love about just his career and just how he's handled being prime time for Georgia this whole time. Kind of like the guy that came before him, that's the other safety that basically did the same thing, started off early. Remind me of who that was. Do you remember, Chito?
Yeah, very similar trajectory to Malachi Starks, who is now repping for the Baltimore Ravens in the NFL. And, while we're speaking on the NFL, college is come and gone, but we're still waiting on the Super Bowl, which in Dog Nation world usually means, is the streak still alive? And to my knowledge, I think the 25-year streak is officially still alive because we have some Bulldogs who would be going to the Super Bowl. Ended up being the Patriots winning the AFC and the Seahawks beating the Rams to win the NFC. So Jared Wilson, who plays for the Patriots, will be there. Thomas Brown is a coach. Kenny McIntosh, who's hurt right now, but has been, I think he's 3rd or 4th on the depth chart at running back behind Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet, who steals touchdowns from Kenneth Walker all the time. And then the head coach of the Seahawks, Mike McDonald, actually is a UGA alum, was a grad assistant here at UGA, and then he also he also coached at Cedar Shoals, which if you've been in Athens for long enough, that's right there. That's around the corner. So some Dogs representing in, I'm not sure which Super Bowl this is going to be. Is this 60? Super Bowl 60?
Gosh, I have no idea. I literally have no idea.
I'm not great with my Roman numerals. I'm gonna say that's 60. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, some Dogs representing, so the streak is extended, and I'm pumped about the Super Bowl. For those fans of the NFL who are kind of tired of seeing the Chiefs, and I know most Falcons fans are kind of tired of seeing the Eagles, I think this is a good Super Bowl and a rematch from a few years ago. So looking forward to it, Keegan. What do you think about the Dogs, the Super Bowl, and all involved?
Well, I think the competitive nature of the NFL is like the perfect understanding point of how we can expect Georgia to do year to year. Like, I, for one, want to make a run every single year, but you can see just the last 10 years of the NFL, how it's seeded, how many times are the number 1 seeds really making the deep pushes? Like, it does happen, but I think it just has a lot to do with the luck of the draw, how you match up, and then do you just show up in those critical moments, which is easier said than done. So, but yeah, it's cool to see Georgia just be represented year after year in the Super Bowl. So I'm all for that. Chito, do you have a Super Bowl pick just off the top while we're doing this here?
So I'm going to be honest with you. This one's kind of hard. I feel like both of these teams are really, really good, both offensively and defensively. As of late, and they've been talking about this on First Take and ESPN, so the Patriots actually had a much lighter schedule getting here. And if you think about the AFC, no Patrick Mahomes, the Bills lost, no Joe Burrow, no Lamar Jackson. So this is a bit of an anomaly, not taking anything away from the Pats fans, but it is a bit of an anomaly. But the Vrabel-Drake May combination is giving kind of Bill Belichick, Tom Brady. I know they're not there yet, but I love that story over there. I'm not a Falcons fan, so I don't hate the Patriots like that, but I think it's kind of cool to see. But the Seahawks have also kind of transformed themselves into this really good team and came out of the NFC. You have the Detroit Lions that were down, the Packers couldn't find their way, and the Rams secondary is atrocious. So Sam Darnold, who starts in New York and then goes to Minnesota and then ends up in Seattle. The defense over there in Seattle, led by Mike McDonald, the UGA alum. I think it's almost 50-50, but what I will say is that the Pats have had an easier route, and I'm probably going to go with the Seahawks getting their lick back from the year that the Patriots beat them when the Seahawks didn't run Marshawn Lynch.
Oh, man.
And they threw an interception to Butler. Russell Wilson threw an interception to Butler at the goal line to win. That was a dumb decision. Even foresight, hindsight, whatever, I think Seattle gets their lick back, but it's going to be a really good Super Bowl. It's like 51-49 for me, and I'm going to go with Seattle.
Yeah, hopefully we do have some like beast mode level moments. That would be dope. But yeah, I like Seattle too for a lot of the reasons you said, and they just seem to be playing clean football, super disciplined, and I like what.
But don't sleep on New England though. They have a really good defense. Stephon Diggs, Drake May, like I said, and Mike Vrabel. I like that team a lot. I just don't know if they're going to be able to overcome how good Seattle is playing right now. But it's one game, and I can't wait. And the best part is it is the off season. We do have some talented recruits coming down the line. But yeah, Georgia's going to start its quest to get back to the mountaintop in the off season of 2026, and we'll see how it goes. The team as constructed now is pretty much what it's going to be. And like Keegan said, maybe we get a little bit lucky this year. You never know how it goes. But I know Kirby's going to have this team ready. We'll see what other changes will be made to the staff. I'm looking forward to what's coming up.
What is it, dude? Like 7 5-stars in the front 7, and we just added that 5-star edge from Auburn too. So
Yep.
like,
Big D line.
something's got to give there, bro. Something's
D
got
line.
to give.
Big D line. And time will tell. Time will tell. We're going to get to talk about it all off season long. But for the time being, we just want to tap in with you guys. Might even get you a Super Bowl podcast coming up, but it's the off season. So bear with us as these episodes come through. Always appreciate you, Keegan. Dog Nation, stay tapped in as we look at what Georgia football will be in the coming months as spring practice starts to get ready to come here in a little bit. Make sure that you listen to us wherever you get your podcast, whether that is on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And as always, guys, you know what it is.
Off the leash.